All right, hello, my friends. Excuse the delay. I'm starting today at 3:30 instead of 3 o'clock, but thank God I'm starting. Here we go. We began this yesterday, and we're talking about the circumcision and the level of godliness that is revealed in the world when Jewish people do the circumcision. Jewish men when they do this commandment, which is called circumcision. And the Rebbe explains that it's a higher level than even Shabbat, and that it is a level of godliness which is essentially reaches the source of all creation, the reason for creation, and part of the creation is time. So it can fix up even the faults and what was lacking in the past. So it can fix up the past. Usually, how do we look at things? We look that time is this continuum. So what was past, you can't really fix it up 100%. Let's say, for instance, you stole money from a bank. So you stole money from a bank. So you can repay the bank. So the bank doesn't lose the money. But the deed that you did is still there. You stole money. So now you did reparations. So the future will sort of heal the wound of the past, but it won't take away the fact that you did this thing that the deed itself. The deed itself is still done, but you just did something that corrects that deed. But here we're saying, no, that with circumcision, you can actually correct the past. But that's what it says. You can even correct the past. So it's as though that nothing bad had ever been done. Let's say a person, for instance, he went in and he robbed the bank, but they didn't give him any money, or he didn't open up his mouth, or whatever it was. So somehow or other, the spiritual effect of this deed is totally erased as though it was never done. That's what circumcision does. It, so to speak, erases all the past. Especially in regard to this particular commandment, it erases the past. Okay. So let's say, for instance, the person, he didn't put on tefillin. He never put on tefillin. And now he puts on tefillin. So he fixes from now on. He starts becoming religious. He does the commandments from now on. Right? He used to be a bad person. No, he's a good person from now on. He's a good person. But it doesn't change the things that he done before, or the absence of the good things that he had done before. Well, we're saying that holds true with everything except for circumcision. The circumcision, when a person circumcises, a Jew circumcises himself, no matter how late it is, it's as though that he had already been circumcised from before. Now, this doesn't make any sense, but it's true because the circumcision is above time. Huh? Because time is a creation, and this reaches to the essence of the creator. Al-Pisa, according to this, now we can understand why Maimonides, he writes, remember what we learned yesterday? Rambam, he writes 3 things about circumcision. It says that a child that is sick, as you don't do the circumcision on him. Why? And he gives, so to speak, 3 reasons. Seems like 3 reasons. Number 1, because saving a life pushes away the commandments. Number 2, you can always circumcise them later. And number 3 is that you can return, and you can never return one Jewish soul. If he dies, the child dies, then that's it. Remember, that's what we said. So the Rebbe asked the question, why did it say it in that order? Endangering a life pushes away the commandments. You can always do it later. And you can't return a dead baby back. It should say it. The thing about the dead baby back, it should say right after endangering a life pushes away Shabbat, or pushes away the commandments. pushes away, endangering a life, pushes away the commandments, and you can never, if he dies, you can never bring him back. And then you can always do it later. Why does he bring him in a different order? So it says, according to this, now we can understand why the Rambam, he says both reasons. It's impossible to bring back a Jew forever. Why kill this child, put the child in danger just to do a commandment? A Jewish child, why put him into danger to do a commandment? If he dies, you can never bring him back at all. The Virta, these words, Zayin and Nosef, they add to the simple meaning. In addition to the simple meaning, a person dies, you can't bring him back, but it also hints at an explanation for the fact, what it says previously, it's possible to circumcise him later. What does it mean? That circumcision, as we just finished saying, let me just get my pointer back over here. That circumcision, it helps even retroactively. I'm afraid even retroactively. The connection between the Jews with God is higher from all consideration, from all limitation. And the connection is constantly complete. So therefore, the state of a Jew is in Velcha Matzav, no matter what state a Jew himself is. And it might be that we don't totally love God, but God totally loves us, no matter what our situation is. So, like it says, bein kach or bein kach, whether, and in other words, in any case, whether this way or that way, Banayim, they are my sons. The Jewish people are my sons. And to exchange them for another nation, God forbid. Yevshar, I can never do. So just translate into Yiddish. Und das is the remez. This is what it says. It's Yevshar l'achzir nefesh achad miYisrael l'olam. You can never bring a Jew back, a dead Jew. You can't bring him back. Men can kein mol nit zurik keren. You can never bring back zurik ziehen, to pull back the connection. Un Kurises bris. That's what it means. You can never hachzir nefesh achad. It doesn't mean that if he dies, you can't bring him back. No, it means I can never bring back my connection to the Jews. We're changing the meaning totally. No matter what state a Jew is in, God says, I'll never return my connection from him, from that Jew, him, her. In this case, we're talking about a boy, so it's circumcision, so it's him. Was der Eberster hat sich verbunden mit Eden. In other words, you can always circumcise him later. Why? Because what is circumcision? It's just revealing the connection that's already there between me and him. And this connection, I can never take it back. That's what he's saying. You can never bring back a nefesh echad. I'll never take back my love for the Jews ever. Because this is nit nor nogea klal Yisrael. This is not just relevant to the Jewish people in general. No oich ben negei yeder ein tzakar yidden, but every single Jew. The Eibishter God had sich verbunden. He connected himself with every single Jew mit a sort verbunden, with such a type of a connection, was men can im kein mol nit im keren, which you can never take back. That's what it means. You can never take back a soul. I can never take back my connection to the soul of every Jew. Yeder every single Jew, for bazundra individually, had their Eibishter lieb. God loves mit azov, with such a type of a love, as with an essential love. Now we have to make this a little bit clear, because God really is creating everything from love. Olam chesed yibon, everything in the world is being created from free love. I mean, just imagine, no matter who it is, a person, let's say, is, in the street, and there runs over him, like a tank. He's all totally crushed. And somebody comes and he saves that person, and he takes him to the hospital, pays all of his bills, and pumps him back up, and what is it, expands him, and puts the heart in order and everything like that. And he keeps the person alive. And he has to spend like millions and millions of dollars just to make his eyes work and his nose work and his heart work and his lungs work and his stomach works and his, all these things, right? And he just keeps doing it for free. You ask a person, I can never pay you back. What are you doing all these things for? He says, because I'm just, I'm just doing it. I'm just a good person. That's what you got to do. You're a good person to do that. Why don't you, like play golf or something, do anything that everybody else, normal people do. You want to be a nice person, pick up a little bit of, garbage from the street or something, you see a cigarette butt, but that's a nice person, right? Somebody needs help. You picked me up, you spent millions of dollars just to keep me alive. And that's just an incredible level of life. Well, that's what God does to every human being in the world. Every human being in the world, God is keeping them alive, and even more, he's creating them with eyes and ears and nose and mouth and lungs and stomach and heart and all the reproductive system and the endocrine system and the whatever is respiratory system. And there's millions. That's everyone in the world. So God is doing everything from love, but the love that God has for the Jews is of a total different sort. The Jews are what's called the sons of God. Every Jew, Jeder Yidden, every single Jew, Bazundra, individually, what their Eibishter live has a love with a tremendous, unique, essential love. Kamaimer the Baal Shem Tov, like the Baal Shem Tov said, as Jeder Id is tired by the Eibishter, every Jew is dear to God, via ben yachid, like an only son, versus geborn, which is born by older people, when they are old. And even more dear. This is a little bit hard for people to understand, especially nowadays, when they're totally, trying to disvalue the whole idea of birth and children and love. Right? There's no such thing as love anymore. But the fact of the matter is that there's nothing more, and can you say it, meaningful, valuable, as human than love, than appreciating the uniqueness of another human being. And every human being is unique. This is just something that's just, indescribable. Love. And there's love between friends, and there's love between siblings, and there's love between parents and children, and love between the wife and a husband, and love between the children and their parents, and all these different types of love. Not talking about that people also love their pets, and they love their animals, and they love their possessions. That's also a type of love. But that's a deep appreciation, right? Deep appreciation for things. That's also love. But so if you can appreciate the thing that you love the most, that's infinitely more so as how much God loves every Jew. There's nothing more precious than to have children. There's nothing more precious. And the whole woke movement and all these other maniacs and just totally destructive and self-destructive people, they'll deny this 100%. But the fact is they won't say, I wish I was never born. Maybe that's what they're trying to say. But the fact of the matter is that there's nothing more precious than to have children. And to see your children grow up and have, at least it's called satisfaction from your children. Not satisfaction in the sense that they make money for you, or you can, brag about them or whatever, just to see that children came from you and you brought this amazing thing into the world called human beings, and that but they also, it's a connection between a father and a son. That was a big problem with Freud and Adler and those other really sick people. They're really empty, shallow, tremendously shallow people, but they tried to say that everything is just, biological and chemical and psychological, but it's not so. It simply is not so. You can look at Professor Viktor Frankl. He's as big as a scientist as for Freud and all those other guys. The fact of the matter is nothing more dear than love. If there's having children, loving the child. If there are parents and they really want to have children, there's people that do anything to have children. And the people adopt children, but it's still not the same thing. Adopting a child is a wonderful thing. It's great, and it's love, but it's not the same thing as having your own children. it's just a different thing. It's not. It's just love. It's just an ability to give yourself totally, not what you receive from the child that you can give and you appreciate. So let's say there's old parents and they did everything they can. They prayed. They did everything they could to have children. They didn't have children. And here they get to be 50 years old or whatever it is. And suddenly the woman, she becomes pregnant and she has a child. She has an only child. And the child is, beautiful and etc. How much she loves that child, there's no comparison. No comparison to how much she loves that child. God loves every Jew even more. The Kavanas of Bria, why is he saying this? Why is he saying this? Because that's the idea of the circumcision. The circumcision reveals this love of God to the Jewish people. The Kavanas of Bria, the whole intention of the creation, was their Abish, which God had Beshefen, that God created the entire world, is Bishvil Yisrael, is for the sake of the Jewish people, that the Jewish people are called number one. Not for the sake of the Jewish people that they should be the bosses or everything belongs to them, but for the sake of the Jewish people to fix up. Is Zay nit nor to leave Klal Yisrael, not for the sake of all of the Jewish people, nor to leave yeder id bezunder, but the world is created for every single Jew individually. And like I say, I just want to stress again, it's not for the Jews to be rulers or to be kings or everything, everybody owes allegiance to the Jews. And that's not what we're saying. We're saying for the Jews to teach everyone. Just like parents get, and you say, nachs, they get satisfaction from their children when they see the more they can give to their children, the more they give to their children, see that it has an effect that the children grow up to be good. So the Jews have pleasure to give to others also. Jews love to give charity. It's a natural trait of the Jews. The Jews love to give charity and love to do favors for others. It says tzedakah v'gemilas chasadim. Those are two character traits of the Jewish people. In Yeder Yidden, in every single Jew, is abhängig, it depends. The ganze kavanah, the whole intention of the creation of the world. Huh? That's why you can see that the Lubavitcher Rebbe put such a tremendous importance on every single Jew. All the Lubavitcher Rebbes, therefore, is Yeder Yid, every single Jew is obligated to say, B'shvili nivra olam, the world was created for me to fix up. I am responsible for the whole world. And therefore, is oich kol amakayim nefesh echad. Therefore, if you save one Jewish person, kuli ki'ilu kayim olam malay, it's as though you saved and sustained the whole entire world. Varum, it's just saying in Yiddish the same thing. Varum, because oibes felt chas v'shalom, because if there's lacking one Jew, it is lacking, so to speak, the whole world. This makes no sense, but it certainly is true. Because every Jew is the only son of God. Every single Jew is the only son of God. Every Jew. So, God is creating the whole world. So the Jews must be pretty important to God. And because Vibald, as it's impossible, because God said, I cannot pull back my love for any Jew forever. Therefore, the connection between every Jew and God and the Eibishter is Alamol Gans. It's always complete. Mit sein ganze Kraft, with all of his, details, all of his power, his details. Und men darf es nor megalazan. You just have to reveal this. The Rebbe, so therefore, is Efshar Lamul Achazman. Therefore, you can circumcise a child anytime. Why? Because this connection is always there. It's above time. You just have to open it up. As afilu ven men is molsh better, even when the child is circumcised later, this helps also retroactively, because the circumcision, because of, like we said before previously, this reveals what is in Shoin Faran from Freya. It just reveals what always was there. It's almost like, Columbus discovered America, right? So it doesn't make any difference when he discovered America. America was always there. It's not that he invented America. He discovered it was always there. It's just that he couldn't utilize it or whatever until it was discovered. Same thing, the Jewish people, the connection between God and the Jews is always there. So whenever they circumcise themselves, that just reveals it. That's taking away not just the physical foreskin from the place of the circumcision, but it's also taking away the spiritual. You're doing a commandment. It's a commandment, and that commandment reveals this connection between God. That's called the Brit, the covenant between God, this eternal covenant between God and the Jewish people, as we will discuss, God willing, more tomorrow. Thank you very much. And now, 1 second.